Loud. Okay, so here we are. Thank you again, both of you, for showing up tonight on a Friday night and allowing me to take up some of your time. What I wanted to do was to get just some overall information about collective healing, and then I will go into maybe some more questions about Reiki and how that works. And so, Sarita, if you don't mind, just sort of giving us a few lines about collective healing and what that looks like.
Yes, thank you, Phoenix, for having us. So collective healing is a health and wellness community for women of color journeying towards healing. And what we do, we promote healing through kinship. We curate healing spaces and events in partnership with practitioners like the amazing Meudel, and providing affordable and accessible spaces that we can come together, heal in kinship that's rooted in our traditional healing practices. And it really was birthed out of my own need to have a space to really connect with other women who are journeying in the same way, who live and are living with a chronic illness or disability, and want to have and really sort of express their own autonomy and how they choose to heal.
Sure, thank you for that. And so it's funny, right, how a lot of times what it is that we want to provide for others comes from our own personal testimonies and needs. And it's the same with this. It's Reiki is something that is new to me and that I'm going to be trying next week with Meudel. And so she is going to give us some more information. My first question, of course, because I really don't know anything about it, is what is Reiki? How does it work?
Okay, first, on the side note, Sarita,
Yes.
the breaths are shallow. So there's energy for you to move through. So just deep breathe, even if it's just for a couple minutes while we're on here.
Okay, thank you.
But so Reiki is the word I choose to give people something to Google. However, my modality of healing literally comes directly from the Most High God, and it's based on the memory that I have in my DNA. So most of the time, I don't subscribe to Reiki in the sense of when you look it up, this is what I do. What I do is I go into a session and I completely surrender to the higher intelligence of the Most High God. And from that place, I'm able to serve the needs of each individual person that is brought into the circle. And so it's more of, I just have this memory of knowing how to do things. And now I do it. And while I'm doing it, I'm saying everything that I'm doing out loud, because I believe I'm just more of a teacher to teach people how to do it for themselves. And I remember the first time that I realized, like, oh, I'm not only just healing myself, I'm meant to do it with other people. I remember this benevolent intelligence, which is the Most High God, say, be careful in letting people see you as their savior. You're supposed to show them how to save themselves. And so I always try to, whatever I'm getting downloads, I always say it, even if it's like a hard truth to say. And I'm like, oh, I want to make everyone feel good. But sometimes like healing comes from like taking a step back and kind of feeling bad about yourself and realizing like, okay, I thought I was good here, but I'm not. I need to kind of do better. And so it's about integrating truths, even if it hurts, you know, and that's how you clean up what people call generational curses or the lineage, you know, and everybody comes in with a certain karmic disposition. And sometimes that disposition will leave you open to experiencing health issues just so you can transmute for the lineage. So a lot of times when I go into these healing spaces, especially with collective healing, where a lot of the women of color have chronic illnesses, it's important to remind them your body is being used for something greater. And it's about literally cleaning up the bloodline through your body. And a lot of times, women of color, melanated people, have this, in my experience, have this greater ability to transmute. And so a lot of times we are used for that, especially women. And I always try to like remind them, like, you literally have a womb, you bring spirit literally through the womb and create a physical being. You know, you're the portal between heaven and earth. You're able to literally anchor heaven through your body and anchor it into this world. And a lot of times, especially when you have a great capacity to anchor higher intelligence, higher love, higher knowledge, it will use these physical debilitations to get you to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so a lot of times what we do in a session, and it's just so hard to say, oh, this is what we do, step 1 to step 10. It's like, really, whatever spirit says is needed, that's what happens in the session. And so a lot of times I'll even like, aside from restructuring and reprogramming the mind to see the chronic illness, the gift in it, and seeing like what's the purpose. Now, everyone has a different purpose. Some people, they're meant to literally transmute for their lineage, and that's the way it happens. Some people, it's just a lot of dense energy that needs to be cleared, based on maybe a certain maybe based on, sometimes ancestors will do things that betrayed themselves, and that betrayal will like come through in the next generation for it to be cleared, if that makes sense. So everyone has a different reason. And a lot of times it's just important to figure out, okay, this is why energetically this is happening to me, so that you can have a clear understanding that it's not, a lot of times it's not anything the person could have done. This is a decision that has been made from generations ago. And then your body is the body that has the capacity to transmute it, you know?
Mhm.
So there's it's so multifaceted, and I feel like I'm not giving it justice, but the whole point is to reprogram the mind into understanding where is this coming from, and then take control from that place. And so when we do that, we do body scanning. And I don't know if you've ever heard of body scanning, but you basically take holy light, you scan your whole body. The place that feels the most dense, that is where you just magnify the light there. And the point is to reprogram the cells, reprogram the DNA in the cells to shift into a higher frequency. Once it starts to shift into a higher frequency, it is like it becomes a place that is kind of hard for dense energy to take root. So like a couple of my clients have cancer, right? And say whenever they have cancer, I'll say, hey, is it in the left breast or the right breast? If they tell me it's the right breast, I know that the betrayal of men happened in their life consistently, and that memory is being held there. For some reason, us as women, we hold masculine, dense betrayal energy in this breast. And so I'll say, so what was his name? And then all of a sudden the waterworks start, because that is what the root is. And so a lot of times with cancer patients, it's like, I love my clients, but a lot of cancer patients lose control, and they like to play victim. And it's like important to restructure their mind. Like, how did I get myself here? Because then that means I can get myself out. And so let's replay the stories when you were younger. Let's replay the molestation. Let's replay the rape. Let's replay all these things that happened from men that we trusted and how we just pushed through, persevered, worked, and didn't really work it out. And now we're 46, built, very healthy, eat clean, but how do we still have cancer? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's just like an example of kind of how I move. It's very dynamic. It's very specific to the person. And I just really just become like a clear vessel for the Most High God to tell me what needs to be said, what needs to be done, what is required of the person on the other side of this session to be able to yield the highest outcome that is available.
So when you talk about, could you elaborate more on the term when you said dense? So because I'm trying to understand, like, so if we're in a session and you say, where is it that you feel the most dense? Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, is it a heavy feeling, or is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's different for everybody. For me, my dense energy, I feel it heavy like a weight. Some people, they're so disconnected from their body that they'll just see like maybe like a darker color. Like they'll see light coming through their legs and they're like, oh, well, my thigh is a little dark. I can't really get the light there. Okay, let's focus there. But they can't feel the heaviness that like maybe I would feel because I'm more connected to my body.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. So then when you talk about that and you say that a lot of times that is their source, is that something that you also know for that person, or is that something that they have to figure out on their own?
Both. So sometimes I'll just know and I'll just say it. And then sometimes literally I will hear the intelligence of the Most High God say, I'm going to tell you what it is, but they're not at a place to integrate that yet. So just wait. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I just have to say, and people will always say, like, well, just tell me. And it's like, but do you really want to know?
Yeah.
And it's about just not, sometimes like you can do, even if it's truthful, you can do more harm throwing truth at someone when they're not at a place to integrate it.
100%. Okay, I understand that. So then, and I know that this session that we're doing on Tuesday or Monday, sorry, will be online. So how is that? Is that different as far as like how you move with it being in a digital space as opposed to actually being in a room with the people?
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to, I used to practice a lot of distance healing. And so what happens is, as long as I have permission from the person I'm working with, now we have access. So a lot of times you'll even see like people will be like, oh, I, heard this, or I feel this about you. That's spiritual rape. Like people who are gifted should not be connecting and seeing into other people, what other people have going on without permission. But the second you give energetic permission to me, because I have the gift, and honestly, all melanated women naturally have the gift, whether they know it or not. I'm able to have access to you, and that energetic connection and access spans, like it's beyond this physical stuff, so it doesn't have a barrier to what I'm able to get. And also, before every session, we always cleanse the space. We always close any portals that are not polarized to unconditional love, because there's portals everywhere. And we always create this sacred grid, so no messages of confusion come through, or energies come through that are not of the highest good for the person. So it's really important to have like that sacred grid. Once we create that sacred grid, now we're all in a bubble together. but everybody's in their little pots, if that makes sense.
That does, that does. Okay, and that's what I was going to kind of ask too, because I think a lot about, like, even like with therapy, how it's different with, being face to face with someone and then having to do it, within with a screen in between you, and those sort of barriers when you're talking to someone, and then just making sure that they are present, you know.
Yeah. So another thing is that if you realize you're the one doing the work and you really don't need me, um, there's no barrier in that way. Like if you are in this space and I have the people I work with, I have their attention.
Mhm.
I'm never concerned about whether or not, because it's such a sacred space. And people are just so committed to their healing when they come here, because I pray before I get into a session. So there's times where people want to work with me, but I already set protection grids around me that if you're not ready to work, your internet will not work. Your tire will bust. You won't make it on time. Like things will happen where you cannot come and waste this sacred time. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Okay. And I was just going to ask you something.
If I can share, Phoenix and Meudel, and just my experience with working with Meudel and also being a part of the circle, I come to know that the chronic illness that I live with, fibromyalgia, all illnesses, as Meudel had shared, is really related to, imbalance of the mind, body, and spirit, and everything is energy. And so in order to heal from a particular disease or imbalance or condition, you have to work at it in every way. And Meudel has given the opportunity for those who have journeyed with us, and there are a few who have journeyed with us every single month that we've had the circle. They really have learned through, some of the messages and teachings and guidance, to be able to really sort of focus in on what is going on in our own bodies, mind, and spirit, and how we're able to transmute that and manifest something different. And I can tell you, in my own personal experience within the circle, I can see a drastic change from when we first started to where I'm at now. And there are a lot of different other experiences or testimonies that was shared with Meudel, with myself, and how this particular space has really been impactful in their healing journey.
Thank you for that. And to go further with that, Sarita, do you feel like in what it was that you learned to help you through this process, is it something that you felt like, I can't even figure out how I want to ask the question. Like sometimes people need things in steps, right? First you're going to do this and you do this, and then it accomplishes this. Like, and so when they show up for this healing, I guess the expectation, or what is the expectation as far as, okay, well then when you come out of this, then you're going to feel this or know how to do this, through this process? Or is this something that they could potentially have to have someone navigate them through each time?
Oh, I can just maybe sort of speak of my own experiences and then what I observed. I think it really depends on the readiness of the person, right? Meudel, she does a really good job in surrendering herself and really sort of having the source and spirit lead the through her through her gifts, lead the healing circle. And she's very clear and she's very concise about, what the directions on what we should be doing step by step within the circle, and if there are any sort of intuitive messages that are being brought in collectively or individually, they are always spot on. There has never been a time since we started this circle where, you know, the information that was received or given wasn't correct, or what didn't resonate with someone, where someone was in their own healing journey.
Okay. Did you have anything to add to that?
It's just one of those things, you just kind of got to be there. So it's like, say I know that someone is having difficulty sexually with their partner, like it'll just like come, right? And so even though I plan to do normal energy healing through the body, being aware, now spirit's like, oh, hey, someone here is having this issue. I need you to tell them to try this, to connect, to be able to use sex as a way to manifest or things like that. And so it's, you do get a step by step, but it's based on whatever the need is in that moment. So even me, I don't know when I go in, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know what I'm going to be teaching. I'll just say, oh, this is what we're doing. Or sometimes last minute, we'll all be on here and I'm like, yeah, everyone needs to go get 2 cups of water, or a cup of water and an empty cup. We're about to do some manifesting. We're about to energetically clear blockages, and then we'll do the energy healing. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm grabbing this knowledge from thin air, and then from that place, I'm giving step by step, so that not only are you able to practice like in the session, but it's something that's practical that can be practiced outside of the session. So it's always a step by step. It's just, you never know what the teaching, is going to be for that session. And there's very rare times where it's like from start to finish, and we're going to breathe and be aware and bring this holy energy in. And then what you're going to do is you're going to feel a shift. You're going to feel like you quantum leap to a higher timeline. And so like the point is, throughout all this, to really answer your question, what can be guaranteed is that you will never be the same. So we all have timelines, like just say A through Z. And based on our decisions, we can be on timeline A, and the blessings and the dense experiences that come from timeline A is what we are going to experience. But say we decide, you know what, we're going to change the trajectory of our life, make a hard decision that's going to be for the highest good of ourselves. Now you can quantum leap to timeline M, and now you're being afforded the blessings and whatever dense experiences from that place. And so the point is to always get the individual to quantum leap to a higher timeline so that they can experience better on earth.
Okay. So
And I can attest to that. I'm sorry, Phoenix. I can attest to that in my own experience, in the circles where I had a sort of physical experience that made me feel like I was elevating to a different space.
Okay. And I know that I probably have tons of other questions, but I'm going to ask one more question and then allow you to also share how more information about the session that's coming on Monday. But my last question, and I'm sure because I've gotten this question from other people, you've mentioned the words holy and spirit, prayer, which some people associate with religion. Does someone have to be religious to take part in this, or what does that mean as far as spiritually for someone? Can anybody from any religion come? That sort of a question.
Yeah, so it's not religious. You can literally be atheist and still like participate. And so for me, I feel like religion for a lot of people can be an introduction to God. However, at some point, it's important to graduate where you're getting direct messages from the Most High God. Like everyone should be able to do that. And it shouldn't be so conflicting. It should be messages that create harmony. And that's how you know if you're going in the right direction. Is this creating harmony? Even if it causes harmonious chaos, like, are we going up? Are we creating more harmony? So like, as long as someone's going in that direction, you know, you're tapping into the most benevolent source. And so religious people tend to come to the sessions sometimes, especially like Christianity, because I have a background in Christianity and that's how I was introduced to God. And then I just kind of graduated. But I saw the beauty of that. And I realized that people tend to come to me when their prayer doesn't work anymore, or their prayer is not working, or their God is not working. And then sometimes they realize, like, oh, it's not that God doesn't work, it's my connection. And how I am navigating this spiritual space within me. And then some people come to find out that there is the most high benevolent God. There is. However, people start to realize, oh, there's other deities. And they start to realize, like, sometimes not everybody is praying to the same God. And so this can, like, really, we can go down the rabbit hole, but a lot of times your life and whether it's going into the direction of harmony or disharmony will tell you who's your God, you know?
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I think, and this is the one last thing, because I really took away, this I thought was really powerful, was the gift of your chronic illness. And I think that that is a really great way to put it, because you have to have, I think sometimes people think that what it means to heal is making things better, but you have to accept what it was that happened before you can even do that. And so acknowledging that that is a gift, because then you can then turn it around and not think of it as something that happened to you, but what you can do with that. So I appreciated that statement. And then if you don't mind, just a few minutes, either of you, if you could elaborate more on the times and how people can reach you to sign up for Monday. If there are any slots left, I don't even know.
There's 3. I think that's on.
Yes, there's 3 spots remaining for Monday, and you can sign up through collectivehealing.com or through the link in Collective Healing's Instagram page. And it's very purposeful to create very intimate spaces. So typically our circles are no more than 10 to 12 to help really sort of support the sacred container that is being created and fostered in our time together. And if you can't catch us this month, Meudel has so graciously offered her time on a donation base, scaled every month, to be able to present and foster this space for us. So we're very grateful for you and all that you do in order to sort of help us embody our own healing.
And I just kind of wanted to say one thing, just to make sure that the picture that is being painted is as accurate as possible. I went to PA school, physician assistant school, which is a medical school. And so I work in the health field. So I feel like I never thought I was going to go into this type of healing space, but I feel like my journey was meant to go into this westernized medicine field, which like I like absolutely despise, but I love because I know what we're up against now because I see it every day. And so it's so nice that like now sometimes like when I have clients, I will literally I can see a UTI and I know it's a UTI because of my education. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like really nice. So yes, do I get direct messages from the Most High God? Yes, but I'm able to interpret it accurately because of my education. So I just kind of want to put it out there so that it's understood that when it comes to these chronic illnesses and even things that I experience with my own body, it's literally because I see sick people every day. And then I'm able to practice, you know, using my gifts in these type of spaces. And I think that's like kind of like what I really love about myself, because I know a lot of healers in the community and it's like they have one side and yeah, they're right, but not all the way right, you know? And so it's just nice to kind of have both. And I think that's what makes this circle with specifically women of color going through chronic, the journey of a chronic illness. I feel like this is why we've been so sustainable. Because of being able to be in both spaces daily.
Right. And it's important, right, to know both sides as well, because then you can argue both sides. You know, I'm sure that you have a lot of people who come at you with the science side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so funny because I used to work for the NIH, so I know how we get paid to publish certain results.
Sure.
So it's like it's just so interesting, like the journey that I've gone on that like helped me to see like anytime someone throws science, I literally can look at a paper and can tell the parts where they like tweaked it based on who is funding it.
Sure.
Like I've been in research where we found certain outcomes, but we couldn't publish it based on who was funding us, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
That's no. I'm in a research class now, so
Okay.
You always have to follow the money. You always follow the money.
It's true.
Exactly.
It's true. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. I'm going to, and I'll see you on Monday. I don't know why I keep saying Tuesday. See you on Monday. I'm going to go ahead and cut the recording so that we're not.
Thank you so much.